All right, and we are back. Game 1 is in the books of the finals of the 2019 Magic the Gathering Old School World Championship. I've managed to win Game 1 against my opponent, Jonathan Salem. Again, I'm Brian Weissman. I'm here with my dear friend, Sam Tang.
Hello, hello.
And we just finished calling the action of Game 1, which was quite dramatic. Ended in very dramatic fashion. A long build-up to a mind twist that was lethal. So I'm going to go over the sideboards right now for both players, just as a little change. And I'm going to start with Jonathan's deck.
Okay, sounds good.
So Jonathan just kind of lost the control battle. He lost the control battle. It's just, we've all done this a million times if we played control decks. If you fall behind in mana, you generally tend to fall into a tight spot. And if you wind up facing a couple of key cards and you're not prepared for them, it can often make the difference about whether or not you lose all your footing in the game and you die to one of the main finishers, which is Mind Twist. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Jonathan did have plenty of blue mana sources, but I was able to press the advantage with the library, and he eventually had to kind of half tap out. And that was his doom. So he's looking at his sideboard right now. A lot of cards are very obvious standouts to me. 2 Dust to Dust, 100%. This is an artifact matchup. Artifacts rule the day. Jam-Day Tome just killed him in the last game, so that's a no-brainer. If there's a deck to bring in Dust to Dust against, it's the deck. Or maybe Shops or something. But the deck for sure. It really shines in this matchup. It's one of the best matchups where it's at performing at peak ability. Because you don't generally tend to die to factories in the middle of the game anyway. You die to factories in the late game and you don't have Dust to Dust at that point. Or they've got counters or it's overwhelming, right? Or you die to Fireball or something. So Dust to Dust is still super good at either maintaining parity early or even getting backbreaking effects where you kill a Soul Ring and a Pearl or something early. And they're really, really far behind. So those two are a no-brainer. He also has another Disrupting Scepter in the sideboard, and surely that's what this matches what that card is for. That's also a no-brainer. From there, it gets a little harder, I think. I think that he probably wants Guardian Beast, and I'm pretty sure that he wants the Serras too. He might have kept those Serra Elementals, I guess, in his sideboard to have some extra toughness, some extra blocking against mid-range, against Serendib, Kurdape kind of things. The Serra just beats all those creatures by itself, and if you can protect it with Blue Blast and stuff, they can't 8-bolt you and stuff. It can just win the game on its own. So it's possible that the Serras are just an extra layer of defense for the aggro matchup, but they're good in this matchup too, for reasons that we already discussed. I'm very likely to pull Swords to Plowshares out against him, and that's going to make both the Serras, as well as both the Guardian Beast and the Argivian Archaeologist, who have insane synergy with the Chaos Orb, a hell of a lot stronger. And if I'm looking at Jonathan's deck, I realize that I have a fair amount of cards that are dead weight. Without any question, the 2 Abysses are coming out. You already mentioned that. Or you mentioned that earlier when we were talking. And some number of Swords to Plowshares are coming out. It's just a matter of how many. Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Well, if you're replacing Swords with Divine Offering, that's an easy swap. Mostly a no-brainer because you still have Factory Defense. If you cut all your Swords to Plowshares and your only extra artifact kill is Dust to Dust, factories do become more problematic. And because the other guy's got more artifact kill at instant speed. And you might just lose the factory battle. There's nothing worse than just dominating in every part of the control mirror, as I did way back at, I guess it was LurkerCon in 2017, where I wasn't playing with factories. Oh, it was 2017. I wasn't playing with factories yet. And even though I kind of dominated the game, I just died to factories. I just lost to him. He had factories and I didn't. And it was just too big of an advantage once we got to mid-game. If you take out your Swords to Plowshares, you're sort of ceding some ground in the factory wars, but you can usually compensate by bringing in Divine Offering. He can't do that. So taking out all the swords is a little bit dubious, but probably still makes sense in the long run because it's unlikely that factories are going to be decisive. So if he cuts 2 Abyss and 4 swords, now he's down 6 cards. And he wants to bring in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 versus 6, it's close. And then at that point, maybe 1 copy of the Hive should come out. Because 2 copies of the Hive makes no sense. Honestly, 2 copies of Hive in the deck versus, say, 4 Jam-Day Tomes also makes no sense to me. But he's in the finals and it's worked for him so far. But he's got to cut one of those Hives. He had it sitting in his hand doing nothing in game 1. That's got to be enough of a signal. So I think if I'm Jonathan, what I probably do is I hedge. I keep 1 Plowshares in. You never know. What if they bring in a Guardian Beast against you and they get or Beast and you have no swords? Very problematic, right? And you introduce yourself to like losing to a quick Serra or something also. At least if you have a Swords to Plowshares and a Tutor and an Orb, you've got a number of outs against the singleton threat. So I think that you cut both Hive and 3 Swords to Plowshares and both Abyss, and you bring in the 7 that we mentioned. That would probably work, and that's probably what I would do. So moving on to my deck. I played this mirror match a million times in testing, and I have, to be honest, a pretty easy sideboard decision. I'm going to be cutting out Fireball. Totally useless in the matchup.
Right.
Beyond useless. What is it even for? Right. To close out a game I won 9 turns earlier. Totally useless. Balance. A narrow range of outcomes where balance is good, but it's so much more likely to be bad than good. It comes out too, without a thought. 2 Abyss come out also, so that's 4. And now we have to think about what else do I remove? Well, Swords to Plowshares again is the obvious candidate. So let's figure out how many cards can I bring in against Jonathan? What am I intending to use? And Jonathan has actually done me a favor here by playing Esper. I know he has no red, so I don't even have to consider using Blue Elemental Blast to fight Red Blast. I wouldn't do that anyway, but it doesn't even enter on my radar.
Right.
And that leaves me with pretty much the obvious sideboard. I have 7 cards in the sideboard that come in for the mirror. The 2 Divine Offerings, no question. The Greed, no question. We already discussed it. And then 4 Hypnotic Specters.
Yeah, those are great.
Unbelievably insane. And he does me the favor by having tons of black mana producers. He has even more than normal. Normally, you'd be facing usually 4 Underground Sea, 4 City of Brass. But Jonathan has 3 Scrublands also. So the Felwars get even better. He has an extra black source to piggyback on versus normal.
Right.
So my Felwars get better. They make the Hypnotics even easier to cast. And of course, I'm going to be bringing in the 4 Hypnotic Specters. And if I can get an early Hypnotic Specter against him after he's taken his Plowshares out, he's just dead. He's basically just dead. There's no beating that.
Right.
So that's my sideboard. I need to remove 7 cards total. I remove Fireball, Balance, Double Abyss, and 3 Swords to Plowshares. And I bring in 4 Hypnotic Specters, Greed, and Double Divine Offering. That's my sideboard against him, and that's what we're going to go with.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward. I've been in this position many, many times in my career. Up 1 game in the finals of an old school event, or in the past it was Type 1.
Yeah.
Before it was Type 1, after it was just Magic. And the pressure, honestly, I don't feel anything. I just need to win. I intend to win. And that's the game plan. Let's begin game 1.
Yeah.
Without further ado. Game 1, 2019 Old School World Championships Finals, beginning right now. Let's jump straight into the action. So you can see us checking out our opening hands here. And Jonathan, after game 1, has also elected to go first. We can take a look at his hand there. I guess there's 1 card that's missing. Can't fan it out, but you can see he's got Factory, Disrupting Scepter, Jam Day Tome, Time Walk, Power Sink, of course, which we saw in the last game. And that last card is Mind Twist, actually. It's Mind Twist. So he's kept a 2-lander going first. He does have Time Walk. So in a way, Time Walk is roughly half of a mana source, right? His deck is 50-50 lands. So the Time Walk, he's beginning the game with 2.5 mana sources. Assuming I don't strip mine him early. Assuming I don't counterspell the Time Walk. Assuming everything goes according to plan. Best case scenario, he kept a hand with 2.5 mana, one of which is a Factory. This hand is 100% annihilated by 1 strip mine. You cannot keep it. You cannot keep it. I'm sorry that you're going first with a 6-card hand. You can't keep it. Plus, if you redraw, you get another shot at drawing Ancestral Recall, 8% or something. You have a reasonable shot at getting Ancestral or Library. And yeah, you have a smaller hand, but you can just wait a couple turns. Nothing interesting is going on. If I don't have a strip mine, you're going to win anyway.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've lost lots of games where the guy mulliganed to Library. And he's like, yeah, I have 5 cards, I play Library, go. And I go, shit, play land. And he goes, pass. And I go, play land. And he goes, pass. And I go, play land, go. And he goes, draw, tap, draw, land, go. And I just lose. It does happen all the time. You cannot keep 2 lands in the mirror. You can't. That's insane. What kind of range does this hand even beat? It's just crazy gambling. And maybe Jonathan has something better to do than play in the finals of the Old School World Championship tonight. He actually did. To his credit, he needed to go to dinner.
No.
His friends invited him out to dinner. And he's probably said, guys, I haven't won yet. I'm 8-0, but I haven't won yet. Let's not celebrate too early.
Yeah.
And so he had to tell his friends that he had to wait to go to dinner. I believe that was the case. And that probably informed this keep a little bit. Honestly, it probably did. Regardless, he should not have kept 2 mana, and he definitely should not have led with City of Brass over Factory first. That's just crazy. You can't do that when you only have 1 colored mana source.
No.
So we'll see if I smell blood. We'll see what my hand actually is here. I play City of Brass. And I pass the turn back, and he rips a Strip Mine. And he plays a Factory, and immediately time walks. This is 100% correct. So we'll see, does he get another land? And he draws another Jam Day Tome. Okay, so Jonathan has 3 mana here now. I have 1 mana untapped. I can't counter. So what do you do here, Sam, do you think? Do you sit back on Power Sync? Do you Mind Twist for 2? Do you run out the Scepter?
You just run out the Scepter, maybe.
You think run out the Scepter?
Yeah, maybe run out the Scepter, or just hold back for Power Sync.
Yeah, it's hard to know, right? I think the Scepter's the right play.
Yeah.
The reason why you play the Scepter is it forces me to kind of be proactive. I'm going to have to be proactive in one way or another. It's very unlikely that I'm going to Mind Twist him or something. It's very unlikely I'm going to do shenanigans. I'm going to have to deal with the Scepter. So at a bare minimum, I just spend the turn destroying the Scepter and we're kind of back to the same situation. And he might hit another land and then he can run out of tome. He's like, do you answer this, Brian? Do you answer this, Brian? I've got another one. Sometimes you just run out of disenchants. It forces me to basically tap out to deal with the Scepter immediately, which is what I would do. So it's totally the correct play, and I agree with it 100%. And he does that without hesitation. Down comes Disrupting Scepter. And I give a nod. Accidentally, the card gets stuck. The judge fixes it for me. Yeah, my cards are super sticky because of how... So that's an interesting play right there, right? My cards are super sticky because they're so mutilated from at this point. This is 2019. So I've been shuffling a lot of the cards in that deck since 1994.
Yeah.
25 years of riffle shuffling does a number on your cards. And I'm sure a lot of people out there who are aficionados of the secondary market for old school are flinching every time they see me riffle shuffle. It hurts people physically to see it. But the truth of the matter is that, to me, these cards are heirlooms, they're antiques, they're part of a very important legacy. They deserve respect. They deserve reverence. And part of that respect and reverence, which is more reverential and respectful, Sam? I'll ask you. Taking these cards and sticking them either in a binder or in a plastic case and putting them in a safe for 15 or 20 years, just hidden from the world forever, taking them out of circulation permanently, or playing with them on prominent display in the finals of an old school event.
So you're telling me I can't get them all PSA graded and just like have a stack of 60 slabbed cards to play with?
Oh my God, people have tried.
That's not judge
tournament legal. When I played in the Masters tournament at NoobCon in 2019, the Alpha for the Alpha only format, 40 card constructed, no restricted list, with one small caveat: you must play with only Alpha cards.
So degenerate. A
rather elitist format, but still super fun and cool, honestly, because you can build crazy stuff with no restricted list. If you happen to have an insane collection, you can build turn 1 kill decks, and we did build that. Daniel's deck, this Blue Vice deck that actually Stephen Menendian wound up playing, it was turn 1 kill deterministic with all Alpha. Incidentally, I have a copy of it, a close facsimile in my safe that I built myself through 2019 because I was jealous. Like, I kind of want one of those. Seems that Peter Atkinson has one also. Why don't I have one?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I better get the cards, and I spent a lot of 2019 getting the cards to build it. It's not nearly as elegant as the Blue Vice. It has like some Mox Jets and Tutors, but it does the same thing effectively. But either way,
you gotta play. You have to. Giving the cards reverence means playing the cards and allowing the cards to earn trophies.
Thrive.
Yeah,
exactly. Just bringing them out into the open. And yeah, I riffle shuffle them, but honestly, I'm never going to sell these cards anyway.
Yeah.
Who cares what they're worth? It doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're not an investment.
Yeah. And also that really great old-fashioned Magic Cartomundi quality. I mean, they're perfectly fine. Yes, they're a little curled, but you straighten them out and they're perfectly fine.
Yeah, they're just a little sticky. That's all. They just kind of glue together a little bit.
Yeah, no, you just... And also, that's the
sleeve. Kind of like Pringles.
It's not the card.
No, they're kind of like Pringles.
You just need new sleeves. It's not that big of a deal.
Think about how Pringles stick together, right? You can like pick up one Pringle and you get 6 of them attached to it. No. It's kind of like that.
No.
So that only
City of Pringles.
Only it's a little more valuable than a can of Pringles. All right. So anyway, I am. So I play a Strip Mine here.
That's right.
Right. I kill Jonathan's only source of colored mana.
And that was exactly what we were talking about 5 seconds ago. which was
You can't-
you can't keep that hand.
You can't keep that hand. You just can't. It's the chances that I have a strip mine are almost 50-50.
Yeah.
In my opening hand, and after I draw a couple cards, it is 50-50. Are you going to gamble the game on a 50-50 when you're in the finals? It's just really reckless.
Yeah.
So it accomplishes two things. It cuts him off of colored mana, and it shuts off the scepter. I believe that I do not have an enchantment kill or an artifact kill in my hand right now. I don't think I have one. So the strip mine also accomplishes this added effect of protecting my hand. And either way, if he does in fact draw another land, he's going to have to tap out with no defense, and I'm going to discard some stuff for a little while, but I may be able to be proactive anyway. Plus his mana is just horrible right now, right?
Yeah.
So we go back to Jonathan's turn. He needs a land more than anyone has ever needed a land before, and he draws scepter number 2.
Wow.
So what do you do when you're Jonathan here now? What do you do? You're in such a bad state now. You have a scepter in play, but you can't use it. You have a power sink and you can't cast it. You have Mind Twist you can't cast. Your entire hand is bricked right now.
Yeah.
And you only have 2 mana. So what do? Do you strip mine right here, or do you wait patiently and just hope that I'm short on mana? At least wait to see if I continue to play lands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me being desperate, I would just strip mine your City of Brass.
You would strip mine the city.
Yep.
Gambling that I am similarly mana screwed.
Exactly.
Even though it means you're not casting anything for the foreseeable future.
But it's also very highly unlikely because you were on the draw and you capped a full 7, so it's like,
And I have 31 mana sources.
Yeah.
You have to take that into account. And I understand that you feel tilted and upset. You're like, damn it, I have no more mana. But you kept a 2-lander anyway. What did you expect to happen?
Right.
You got strip mine. That's a very common occurrence. So understand that you made a miscalculation and it did not go well. So hedge, cut your losses. Just hope that you just draw into land and I can't kill the scepter.
Right.
And in a few turns, you're back in the game.
Exactly.
You're back in the game because you've sceptered me 4 times now. And now you're like drawing black and blue sources. You Mind Twist away the rest of my hand. You play it home and you win the game. What does Jonathan Salem do instead? You're about to see.
Okay.
Shrug,
and
strip mine.
Shrug, strip mine. Okay.
Just gamble and fan your hand a bunch of times. So I do not break stride. I play an Underground Sea and I pass the turn back. He draws the Hive, a totally uncastable hand. I draw a card, another Underground Sea, and a Mox Pearl,
Oh boy.
and death.
Oh boy.
Death comes for you again.
Wow, that's 0 to 100 very quickly.
Can you imagine what he's thinking here?
I have been on both sides of the hypnotic specter. It feels very good to be in your seat, and it does not feel good to be in Jonathan's seat.
It does not at all.
No.
It is just the worst feeling imaginable. We've all faced it on like turn 1 from a ritual.
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
But to have it happen in the finals when you're looking at a hand that has, what is the aggregate mana cost of this hand? It's gigantic, not accounting for the X spells. Oh. You have 16 mana in artifacts and 2 X spells, and you have a factory in play. And a hypnotic specter just entered the battlefield.
Yeah.
You're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
You're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Jonathan draws. This is going to be a big draw, and Daniel zooms in on the specter. There it is, looming large, and he rips a lotus.
Wow, that's great.
So what do you do? What is the play here? Is there any play that makes any degree of sense at all? Do you just hold the lotus and hope somehow that you draw into your own Sarah Angel, perhaps?
Yeah.
Maybe you keep the lotus out there, assuming he has Sarah Angel. I don't even know if he has Sword Splashers. Or maybe you draw into Chaos Orb and you deal with it.
Or you just Mind Twist for 3 and YOLO.
Or you YOLO with Mind Twist, which kind of messes with my hand. I have 5 cards in my hand, so this is a Mind Twist for 3 of my 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal with the Spectre, and it kind of closes the door on any comeback, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You're lucky enough to have top deck Lotus. If I can't kill it, you might actually get back into the game. There's a range.
Right.
If you Mind Twist, I discard 3.
Yeah.
But now you have no Black Lotus anymore.
Yeah, mathematically, you just sit on 4 mana. You just keep drawing, hoping that the hippie doesn't hit the mana source. You draw something, you immediately play your land. And you just hope to just get more land.
You just got to draw more land and you just take it on the chin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that Mind Twisting here is correct. It may feel a little bit correct. It certainly feels a little vengeful in the moment, given that you're about to randomly discard.
Right.
But there's no way that this works out more than just passing.
Right, yeah.
It
You
just
want
doesn't
that
accomplish
hippie
anything.
to hit the hive. And then
Exactly.
Maybe, yeah.
Keep your hand fat as possible and just try to weather the storm. You got to try.
Right.
So
And-
he goes for Mind Twist for 3, and I
wow.
immediately just lay my hand down on the table. And we're going to roll dice here. He uses 2 6-siders, discounting 6s, so whatever these are. So 1 through 5. And he rolls craps.
4, okay.
4 and 3 I
Okay.
keep, and the other 3 cards are destroyed.
Okay.
And I throw and I believe I announce it's Tundra, a Mox, and something else, I think. He
okay.
had 2 mana sources, I think, or maybe even 3. I think he
Okay.
takes 3. I think he hits City of Brass, Mox, and a mana source.
Now, when you played Hypnotic Specter and you had a Mox, you didn't want to run out that Mox. You kept it in your hand.
Yeah, let's actually, I announce what I discard. I tell him, so I'm going to back up, actually,
Okay.
so we know. Okay, so we can turn the volume on real quick.
Okay.
Play.
Factory, City Brass, and Tundra.
Factory, City of Brass, and Tundra.
Factory, City of Brass, and Tundra. So I did not have a Mox, but I
Okay.
did have 3 lands in play.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
3 lands in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting back to that whole strip mine play, right? He kills the City of Brass, and I've got like 4 more land in my hand.
yeah.
He voluntarily destroys 30% of his mana, right? No,
For no
actually 50% of his mana.
For like
For
inconsequential
no gain at all.
Yeah.
Just totally YOLOing and gambling, and it does not pay off. And the Specter's still out. So he Mind Twists me. He no longer has Black Lotus as an out for anything. And we resume. All right, so I draw here. I play a Factory. I beat for 2, and now I get to take a card out of his 5-card hand.
Okay.
And he discards the Hive. It
The
seems very
Hive.
appropriate. And down comes another Hypnotic.
Hypnotic Specter.
Can you believe it? 2 of them in play.
Oh.
And just like that,
Extends the hand.
it's over.
That's it.
It's over. I throw my hand on the table in triumph.
Wow.
Fist pump, and am immediately declare the winner. And you
Wow.
can see the trophy right there. Old School World Champion 2019.
Wow.
With 2 Hypnotic Specters. It plays out exactly as I described it.
It feels good that Hypnotic Specter was also in these finals doing work.
Doing work. Not just doing work, just annihilating my opponent in the second game.
And it's funny that you don't even have to connect. We already know the impact and the importance, the gravitas of Hypnotic Specter.
Yeah, exactly. And Jonathan knows it too. He knows that there's no outs. He
Yeah.
draws a card. It's not a land. It's not balance. I don't think he even has balance. It's not swords. It's nothing.
Yeah.
2 more hits. He's down to, 3 cards in hand?
Yep.
And taking 4 in the air return. There's no factories that are blocking it. I just added a factory to the board too. And he has
Right.
no white mana. So the clock is actually going to be 6 a turn, plus 2 cards. Totally impossible to come back from.
Yeah.
And just like that, I win.
That's like that. Wow.
I win the
Wow.
tournament.
Wow.
Honestly, it felt so good. It was one of the best feelings of my entire career.
Wow.
Because I had worked on this format steadily since 2017, early 2017 when I first learned of it. And I put in a lot of time. I had to relearn it from the ground up because it was a different meta than what I originally kind of pioneered in, what I understood. I did not understand how good factories were at first. I thought that Hymn to Torak might be better than Specter. And I kept figuring it out over time. And this deck, this design was my opus. And it went 9-0. Taking down the guy that was 8-0, 2 games straight.
Wow.
In emphatic fashion.
Yeah, it was a pretty fast game.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Crushing him in the second game.
You applied a lot of pressure. I mean, you applied a lot of pressure early on. You didn't bargain. You didn't try to gamble. You applied a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And it played out exactly as I hoped.
Yeah.
And just like that, the tournament's over. I'm so relieved to have won it. And I'm just looking forward to the future. What am I going to do? Am I going to play more old school anymore? Did I kind of solve this format? There's other old school formats. There's
Right.
lots of them. And I actually spent 2020 and 2021 playing a lot of kind of niche old school formats. I played a bunch of Singleton and stuff. I even played a bunch called Four Horsemen. Four Horsemen, which was basically a format made by a friend of mine named Chad, who designed this format to kind of harken back to the old days. But what would it be like to play old school without alpha, without the alpha set? What if it's just the expansions? Kind of an interesting format, actually. And they've done a lot of innovation, a lot of iteration on it. It's still evolving, but it's kind of a cool format, worth taking a look at if you're an old school fan.
That's
But either
awesome.
way, this kind of amounted to the end of my forays into old school.
Mm-hmm.
I think after this, I just didn't really have that much interest in the format anymore. I really felt like I had solved it. I had this 9-0 finish, And there really just wasn't much left to do. And I turned my attention back on the format that I cared more about, which was Commander, which I've continued to work on to this day. If you're watching this video and you enjoy Commander, either as a casual player or as an expert, there's a lot of videos on this channel that are pretty damn good. They don't have Sam Tang joining me for commentary. They don't have music, but they have a lot of quality and they're worth a view if you've got the time. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for following this journey, for listening to all of the in-depth conversation, the in-depth analysis. I hope you not only enjoyed it, but that maybe you learned something in the process and it's made you a better player in the long run. It is my job foremost to both educate and entertain.
I've
Sam,
definitely learned a lot.
thank you so much for joining me for the commentary.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm sure it's not the last time we will partner together to talk on the mics. And I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it. Awesome.
Thanks everyone for watching. I will see you all soon with other content. And give disc golf a try. Can't imagine why I'd be an advocate for that. Thanks again, everyone.